Okay, chapter 24 in Genesis. Abraham was now old and well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the chief servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, "Put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, Yahweh, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but will go to my country and my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac." Okay, what's this about putting a hand under the other person's thigh to promise to them? I don't know, but it must be another one of their customs. And they swear by it when they do that. So he says, "Put your hand under my thigh and swear by the Lord." Verse 5, the servant asked him, "What if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from?" Verse 6, "Make sure that you do not take my son back there," Abraham said. "The Lord, Yahweh, the God of heaven, who brought me out of my father's household and my native land, and who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to come back with you, then you will be released from this oath of mine. But only, there's no but there, only do not take my son back there." Verse 9, so the servant put his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Okay, so Abraham has his servant put his hand under his thigh and swear to the Lord, or swear by the Lord, which I don't know if that means to the Lord or whatever, but swear by the Lord that he would go to the land that Abraham is from, get a wife from one of Abraham's relatives, and bring that wife back to Isaac. The wife is not to come from the Canaanites where Abraham and Isaac live. And if the woman won't come back, the servant is not to take Isaac back to the land where Abraham is from. Doesn't say why. I kind of get the feeling maybe it's because Abraham was taken out of there by the Lord, that he doesn't want anybody to go back without God's permission. Remember, he has a fear of the Lord. If a woman won't come back, then the servant will be released from this promise. I don't know what would happen if somebody swore by the Lord and then didn't fulfill the promise. But this servant was concerned enough that it's like, well, what if I go there and I can't bring somebody back? How am I going to fulfill this promise? I'll have to take Isaac over. Well, Abraham says, if the woman won't come back, you're released from this promise. Okay. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Verse 10, then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left, taking with him all kinds of good things from his master. He set out for Aram Naharaim and made his way to the town of Nahor. He had the camels kneel down near the well outside the town. It was toward evening, the time the women go to draw water. The time the women go out to draw water. So this servant's not dumb. This servant's like, where can I meet women? Well, they come out in the evening to draw water, so I'll go there and wait for the women to come out. Verse 12, then he prayed, "O Lord," capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, which is Yahweh. "O Yahweh, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, give me success today and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I am standing beside this spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a girl, 'Please let down your jar that I may have a drink,' and she says, 'Drink,' and I'll water your camels too. Let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master." So this servant doesn't want to mistake and pick just any woman. He wants to pick the one that God has chosen for Isaac. And so he's asking for a sign so that he knows which one. And he's being very specific what that sign is. He's saying, he wants to say to the girl, "Please let down your jar that I may have a drink." And he wants the girl to respond, "Drink, and I'll water your camels too." And then he'll know. Okay. And he says, "By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master," and picked out a woman for him. Verse 15, before he had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Okay, so she was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother. So we've got Abraham's brother's wife had a son. So Abraham's brother had a son. And that son had a daughter. So yes, they're related. She's going to be related to Isaac, who's the son of Abraham. So this is like, I don't remember if it would be second cousins or second cousins once removed or whatever that is, but they are related. Okay, verse 16. And that was requested. Remember, Abraham said, "Choose from my relatives." Verse 16, the girl was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever lain with her. How would they know that? Maybe they wore something that showed they were a virgin. Or maybe after they weren't a virgin, they wore something. Kind of like when we wear wedding rings, we're married. And it used to be that you were a virgin until you got married, at least in our culture. So somehow he knew she was a virgin. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever lain with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. Verse 17, the servant hurried to meet her and said, "Please give me a little water from your jar." Verse 18, "Drink, my lord," she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking." So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all his camels. Without saying a word, the man watched her closely to learn whether or not the Lord, Yahweh, had made his journey successful. Verse 22, when the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beka and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Then he asked, "Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" Okay, so she didn't answer exactly word for word as the servant had requested. He said, "Let her say drink, and I'll water your camels too." No, she didn't say that word for word. She did say, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking." And then not only did she say it, but she did it. Okay, and apparently she did it a lot. Apparently it wasn't just drawing it once. It said she ran back to the well to draw more water and drew enough for all his camels. Okay, so either this was a really big jar, or maybe she had to keep drawing, I don't know. And the servant's watching very closely, wondering, is this the person, the woman, the wife that God picked for Isaac? Okay, so then he asked, "Whose daughter are you?" Why did he ask that? Because he wants to make sure this is a relative of Abraham's, as Abraham had not just requested, but demanded. When he makes a request of his servant, that's an order. Okay. And he said, "Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" Verse 24, she answered him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor." And she added, "We have plenty of straw and fodder Yeah, straw and fodder, as well as room for you to spend the night. Okay, now we know why we were told back in chapter 22, at the end, we were given a whole paragraph as to the fact that Abraham was told that Milcah was also a mother, okay, and that she had borne sons to her brother Nahor, okay, and here Rebecca is saying, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor, and we were told back in the end of chapter 22, the names of the sons, and Bethuel was definitely in there. And then it said in verse 23, Bethuel became the father of Rebecca. So it even says Rebecca being born there. So this servant would say, wow, there's no way she could know all this stuff. This has to be true. This matches exactly what we knew. Okay, so when the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring. Okay? There is nothing wrong with a gold nose ring. I don't personally want to wear one. But if there was something wrong with it, I don't think they'd be doing that. I don't think they'd be putting it on Isaac's wife. Culturally, our culture used to not like it. Used to like nose rings. Now, our culture is starting to like it. You know, we need to stop bickering about the little things. I'm sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. Okay? If it specifically said in the Bible not to have nose rings, then okay. Then we shouldn't have nose rings. But, I mean, here is godly people. Okay? This man, this servant of Isaac, is obviously a godly man. He has a fear of God. He's praying to God. He's asking for direction. And then he goes and gives a gold nose ring to this woman as a gift. Would he do that if it was something bad, if he knew in his heart it was something not to be done? I don't think so. Okay, and he also gave 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. He's giving a gift to this woman. And then he asked, whose daughter are you? Okay, so we went through all that. And she answered who she was, and she said that there's room for you to spend the night. Verse 26, then the man bowed down and worshiped the Lord, saying, Praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and faithfulness to my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives. So it almost sounds like he's surprised that he ended up exactly like he didn't have to ask around and say, well, do you know where Abraham's family lives? Maybe it was a known thing, but I mean, he was led right there. Verse 28, the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he hurried out to the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and had heard Rebekah tell what the man said to her, he went out to the man and found him standing by the camels near the spring. Come, you who are blessed by the Lord, capital L-O-R-D, Yahweh. So they knew the name of Yahweh because he said it. Come, you who are blessed by the Lord, he said. Why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels. Verse 32, so the man went to the house and the camels were unloaded. Straw and fodder were brought for the camels and water for him and his men to wash their feet. Then food was set before him, but he said, I will not eat until I have told you what I have to say. So this servant of Abraham's is so focused that he doesn't want to do anything until his duty is done. And then he can eat and relax and enjoy himself. Then tell us, Laban said. Verse 34. So he said, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maidservants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah has borne him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. And my master made me swear an oath and said, you must not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I live. but go to my father's family and to my own clan and get a wife for my son. So he's saying Abraham is wealthy, but Abraham's not just wealthy because he worked for it. I mean, he's saying the Lord, Yahweh, gave all this stuff to Abraham. We know how a lot of it was accumulated over the different places they went and the different kings that gave it to him, but the credit's all being given to God, Yahweh. Verse 39, then I asked my master, what if the woman will not come back with me? He replied, the Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you and make your journey a success so that you can get a wife for my son from my own clan and from my father's family. Then when you go to my clan, you will be released from my oath, even if they refuse to give her to you. You will be released from my oath. So he's giving them a way out, so they don't have to feel guilty about him not going back without a woman, okay? Because otherwise, I mean, they might say, oh my gosh, if he goes back, he'll get beat or he'll get killed or whatever because he didn't keep his oath. He's saying, no, you don't have to give her to me. I'll be released from this oath. I came here, I've done what I was told to do. Now I'm clear of this oath. Verse 42. When I came to the spring today, I said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you will, please grant success to the journey on which I have come. See, I am standing beside this spring. If a maiden comes out to draw water and I say to her, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and if she says to me, drink and I'll draw water for your camels too, let her be the one the Lord has chosen for my master's son. Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water, and I said to her, please give me a drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I'll water your camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. I asked her, whose daughter are you? She said, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her arm, and I bowed down and worshipped the Lord, Yahweh, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. I praised the Lord, Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right road to get the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn. Laban and Bethuel answered, this is from the Lord, Yahweh. We can say nothing to you one way or the other. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord, Yahweh, has directed. Okay, so I think they're convinced that God's involved here, that Yahweh's involved here. And so maybe it's out of fear that they don't want to disobey. Maybe they're just convinced. Maybe it's time for Rebekah to get married and they hadn't picked somebody out for her yet, and they think, wow, he's rich. You know, maybe we'll get a great gift from him. If he takes her, this could be good for us. I mean, we don't know what went through their head, but they agreed to it. Verse 52, when Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord, Yahweh. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. So he gave gifts to Rebekah, to the mother, and to the brother, Laban. And then they went to sleep. When they got up the next morning, he said, send me on my way to my master. So he wanted to go back right away. This guy is focused on getting this job done. He just wants to take Rebekah and go now that the agreement was done and the price was paid. Verse 55, but her brother and her mother replied, let the girl remain with us 10 days or so, then you may go. Okay, were they really planning on sending her 10 days later? Were they tricking him? Did they want 10 days to say goodbye to her? We don't know what they were doing here, why they were doing this. It might have been completely innocent. It might not have been. When you learn about Laban later, you might be suspicious like I am. here with this request. Okay, but her brother and her mother replied, "Let the girl remain with us 10 days or so, then you may go." But he said to them, "Do not detain me, now that the Lord, Yahweh, has granted success to my journey. Send me on my way so that I may go to my master." Then they said, "Let's call the girl and ask her about it." So they called Rebekah and asked her, "Will you go with this man?" Maybe they were expecting her to say no. She's probably a young girl. They may have thought she was afraid, or maybe they thought she didn't really want to agree to it. They made the decision, not really her. We're not told anywhere in here that she made a decision in this. "I will go," she said. So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies." Wow, that's a nice blessing. So you'll have kids, and your kids will have kids, and you'll have this huge family tree. And may your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. Well, that's kind of cool, because we know that Abraham was already told by God that his descendants would possess the land of the enemies. Verse 61, then Rebekah and her maids got ready and mounted their camels and went back with the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac had come from Beer Lahai Roi. For he was living in the Negev. He went out to the field one evening to meditate. So Isaac, they tell us where he's living, and he came from where he was living and went out into the field one evening to meditate. And as he looked up, he saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?" Okay, now remember, she's beautiful. We were already told that, so Isaac's going to probably be thrilled. But she's very curious, so maybe he's attractive too. "He is my master," the servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. She didn't want to be seen. Then the servant told Isaac all he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah. Now Sarah's already gone. Remember, she already died. She's already been buried. So Isaac brought her, Rebekah, into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. Okay. So she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Okay. Well, he takes her into the tent of his mother, and he married Rebekah. Was this an actual marriage, or was this just that they consummated the marriage? We don't know. Kind of get the feeling it was just the two of them, that nobody else was around. It doesn't say anybody else was around except maybe the servant and the servant's the other men that went with them to travel. I don't know. So apparently Isaac was thrilled though with Sarah, because it does say that he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. And that is the end of chapter 24. Bye.